Hi everyone, welcome to Google Edu On Air. In this session, Disrupting Learning, Students' Perspectives, we'll be discussing passion-based inquiry models inspired by Google's 20% time and highlighting what students think about this. My name is Narissa Lang and I'll be the moderator of this session, so if you have any questions you would like to ask, just pop those in the question window or on our Twitter feed as well. Presenting this session today is Anthony Speranza. Anthony is the Google Education Certified Innovator and Trainer and the recipient of the 2014 DLTV Educator of the Year Award. He is currently the ICT Learning and Teaching Leader at St Mark's Primary School in Dingley, Victoria, Australia, where he's implemented and involved their passion-based inquiry program. I had the pleasure of spending a couple of weeks touring America with Anthony in 2012 as part of the ACCE study tour, and I'm really excited to hear how he's brought the learning back from that tour and implemented it into his classroom today. We're also joined by some of Anthony's very lucky students. We have Shelby, Luke, Jacob and Sienna, and they'll be sharing their perspectives with us today as well. So welcome Anthony and welcome to his students as well.
Thanks so much, Riz. It's great to be here and really looking forward to this session because we're going to be featuring a lot of student voice. Often we come to conferences, we hear a lot of teachers talking about what they learned, and that's great. I'm a really big believer in understanding our impact, and one of the things we do is have a look at evidence from our kids and really want to showcase what some of these kids have to say today. So we're very much looking forward to presenting with you all today. What we're going to be doing briefly is just discussing this particular passion-based inquiry model that we've been completing here at St Mark's for a number of years, and want to be able to show you some examples of student projects. The second half of the presentation, we're going to have a student panel, and I've got a series of questions that I think will be really useful for teachers to be able to hear and listen. If anyone has any Q&A, if you would like to ask a specific question to any of our year 5 and 6 students, they would be more than glad to answer those. Just if you can see down on the presentation, or if you're on the Edu website, you can access this presentation at goo.gl / T, Y, B, F, lowercase t and the number 6. In this presentation, you will see lots of blue links, and they're all things that you can click on and explore in greater detail. So first of all, let me start with the what. As Riz said in the introduction, we were fortunate enough to go to Silicon Valley and some of the most innovative companies in the world in 2013 as part of a study tour. And one of the things we really noticed from Google, that their culture was just bleeding innovation, and people were just incredibly satisfied to be there. And the way in which they were just going around their innovation and creativity was inspiring to see for us as educators. Now, they've got this concept called 80-20 time, where their engineers can spend one day of their working week working on whatever it is that they like, as long as it's got some sort of value add back to the company. Now, naturally, as educators, once we started discussing this idea, we were curious as to what would 80-20 look like in the classroom. What would happen if we would give at least 1 hour where kids could learn whatever it is that they wanted and presented it however they wanted. And we all discussed that, well, naturally, that would be highly personal learning, so that would be a good thing. It would be a mode of inquiry. Kids would be self-directed, they'd be intrinsically motivated, and would be giving us a really good platform for exercising collaboration, creativity, and using ICT for exploring and communicating. And what we realize is that that's really what we know as passion projects. In the last couple of years, you can see terms genius hour and 20 time being discussed in education a lot. So this sort of gets me into the why, because when we discuss this, we did a little bit of research coming back, and we found hundreds of people simply advocating this genius hour concept. And if you do a search on social media using the hashtag genius hour, you'll find a lot of teachers, a lot of kids around the world sharing their projects, the things that they're innately curious and passionate about. One of my favorite resources is this one here that is starred, which is the Genius Hour Live Binder. And a big shout out to Joy Kerr and the rest of the educators, her colleagues from America, who basically trawl the web for anything Genius Hour related and put it all together in a live binder for teachers to use. And it's been a great inspiration for us, and it continues to be a wonderful inspiration for many others that are interested in this Genius Hour concept. One of the other things which we discovered was, where does Genius Hour fit in terms of the rest of our curriculum? One of the professional readings which we found really useful was this guy Claxton's 3 R's and 3 C's. which is titled, "What's the Point of School?" And one thing that we've noticed as teachers is that this mode of passion-based learning really does cover all of these 6 things. And it's no wonder why kids get really engaged in this, because you're covering pretty much all of these points of school, so to speak. So let me talk briefly about the how. This has pretty much been an evolution, and everything that when I say me personally, and when I talk about our school community and our teachers, you can pretty much go to either my personal blog or our year level blog and see everything we've ever posted about Genius Hour. Since 2013, we've published every single presentation that any of our kids have ever done, and they're all online public for the world to see. And I've written many articles and given many presentations about Genius Hour. And today's not really about the evolution, it's more about what are the things that we believe have made it so effective right now into 2016. So just to describe this evolutionary process, typical questions we had in 2013 were things like, how do planets revolve around the sun? And why are surfboards made out of fiberglass? And this year, we've got two of our students on the panel, and their questions were, how might we rewire our brains through 30-day challenges? And how might we inspire people to increase their self-belief so they can reach their maximum potential? So it really has been an evolution in terms of the depth and breadth of questions that kids take. Just to give you an overview of how this works, we usually spend 1 hour per week, and what we now know is that it's really important to spend a lot of time immersing our students and coming up with inspiration. So we do spend a good 1 to 3 weeks working with this to make sure that kids have plenty of opportunity to come up with ideas. Then in weeks 3 to 4, that's when they generate, and they will then submit a project for approval, and they will be assigned a mentor teacher. In weeks 5 to 13, that's pretty much the time then where they are doing something, making, learning, teaching something. And every couple of weeks they also, yeah.
Sorry, Anthony, can I just butt in? Can I just ask you to share the slides with us, please, so that we can see them on the big screen? So we're looking at all of your lovely students at the moment, but it might be great to see this slide that you're talking about at the moment.
Okay, you can't see that at the moment?
No, we're looking at you guys.
Oh, sorry. How's that now?
I'll just check it out. Thank you.
Okay, I think that should be better now. I'll just check here. Okay, that should be okay. And as I was saying then, really weeks 5 to 13, that is when they are working on their projects. And then finally in week 14 to 16, their presentations are finalised and they are shared onto our year level blog, at our expo, and on Hangouts, which is now YouTube Live. So here are our 10 principles of Genius Hour. The most important ones here really are coming up with a good question and being larger than Google, which I'll speak a little bit further about. But we want our kids to be thinking about how they can share their work that they undertake and how they can make an impact with everybody else. So this is our Googleable versus non-Googleable poster. So you might have noticed that in 2013, some of those ideas around how planets revolve around the sun and why surfboards made out of fiberglass, essentially very Googleable questions. So what we're trying to encourage our kids to do is to come up with non-Googleable ideas. Whilst Google might help you solve the answer, we don't really see the benefit of spending a large amount of time where kids can easily just use Google to solve all of their problems for them. Here is our complex matrix, our question matrix. And what this highlights is the difference between simple and complex questions. So all of those things around events or places, Google's really good at finding out all the facts for those things. But what we're trying to do is really get into the lower quadrants and ask questions about how and why and will and might. And essentially that's why we have how might we questions, which I'll talk a little bit further about as well. As I said in the beginning, we spend a lot of time now immersing our students. And this is just a list of different websites that we give our kids a good couple of weeks to go ahead and explore. And these are just some of our favorite videos as well that really do spark a lot of provocation and ideas as well. Like I said, again, all these links in this presentation, anything that is blue, you can click on that and you can check them out for yourselves. Okay, I'll just go to the next slide. This is our learning loop. One of the things we discovered in our early iterations of Genius Hour is there seems to be this mindset of, here's a project, I've solved it, I'm finished. What we're trying to do is get our kids to really prototype and test ideas. So to think about their question as a problem and plan something, test it out and see what happened. Get some feedback from there and improve it. We really did this because we noticed kids were doing things like, making soccer balls out of recycled materials. We'll get to the expo day and have a soccer ball that failed upon the first attempt. We're trying to get our kids used to the idea that naturally as part of your prototyping procedure, it probably will and should fail in the beginning. So how do you fail quickly and learn from that and quickly reiterate to build something meaningful? This here is a graphic that I've shared often and resonates with a lot of teachers. It's been really useful for our own school community here because we felt that in the beginning in 2013 to 2014, we didn't want learning to be contained in self. So yes, whilst we're learning something that we're passionate about, how can kids go beyond that and present and share their findings to our school community at our Open Expo Day or share their work via a wider community? How can they have an impact on a state or national level? And there's been a couple of projects that I'd have to say in the last 18 months have certainly started to reach the echelons of state and nation impact. And the other trident there, just the idea that you can be teaching for the nation or do something for the school community or make something that could be useful for people in the wider community. Here's another graphic that we use when we're coming up with ideas for projects. And we don't necessarily have to tick all these boxes when we're approving a project, but I think if kids can create questions and projects and ideas that meet as many of these as possible, we find that they often embark onto absolutely amazing things. Austin's butterfly is a concept that all of our teachers in 5, 6 and 3, 4 doing our Genius Hour projects and our kids really live to, because for me, it really demonstrates that your first version or your first attempt at something may not necessarily be the best. And if you haven't seen the story of Austin's butterfly, essentially Austin was a child in years 1 and 2 who received peer feedback to draw the butterfly as best as he could. You can see in the frames there, up the top left-hand corner, that was Austin's first butterfly. And the final one, coloured in orange, really, really closely resembles the exemplar that students were shown. And Austin did all that by himself, just through the power of peer feedback. So we're trying to also live to this as well, make sure that our kids get many opportunities for peer feedback and demonstrate that the first attempt in what they do with something, there's always more potential for them. I know this slide is very text heavy, but it is lifted directly from one of our lessons that we work with kids. And language and wording of questions is really important, I think. And we've applied some of the design thinking principles in our Genius Hour project, for example, using how might we questions. And that's why you'll notice on our blog, there are often, well, all of them essentially are how might we, because when you ask how, it invites you to explore possible solutions. When you say might, it invites that risk of failure, and that's okay. And the we is all about that collaboration, and that fourth word is really important because it can dictate how the project eventuates. Another one of the principles we apply is this concept of kids coming up with many ideas. How do you filter them to go with something really useful? So an example might be if kids come up with a question, how might we encourage people to eat healthy foods? Well, out of all the ideas that you could do underneath that, how are these useful, achievable, innovative? We brought this upon because some of our kids were coming up with amazing concepts around solar-powered go-karts, which sounds wonderful in theory, but how realistic is it to build a solar-powered go-kart in a very short period of time? When I say short period of time, if you consider all the knowledge required to build it, electronics and solar-powered, etc. If the kids are looking at the impact of solar-powered go-karts, maybe for more efficient transport or maybe to minimize pollution on our society, what are other useful, achievable and innovative ways that kids could use a semester to reach that same level of impact, but actually have something to show at the end of it, rather than blueprints of a go-kart, or the knowledge and understanding that it's more complex than what they thought, which sometimes is okay as well. And one of the things that I think that makes a significant difference as well is sharing learning and celebrating success and failure. So we do this in 3 ways. Every single project we have, as I said, gets uploaded to our year level blog, and you can check out our projects that were completed just this week. And we also have an expo day where we invite the whole entire school community to come in and the wider community and the kids set up little mini expo stores like a walk-in museum and have the kids share their work that way. And finally, something that's been really exciting for our kids is to present on Google Hangouts or YouTube Live. And just on Thursday, we had 10 projects shared to about just over 1,000 students and teachers watching on from Australia, New Zealand, and America, excuse me. I just want to touch really briefly on some student perspectives. This was a survey we just completed this week. The last time we did this survey was in 2014, and we're going to collate our results together. So asking our cohort of students in years 5 to 6, of which there is approximately 150, GeniSal makes me happy. 82% of them agree and strongly disagree, agree and strongly agree. GeniSal challenges my thinking. 80% again agree and strongly agree. And GeniSal is interesting for me. 80% agree and strongly agree. What is absolutely astounding for me are these next two. I want to do well in GeniSal. 90% agree and strongly agree. I find this fascinating because it's not marked. It's not assessed. And often that becomes, well, we think that becomes the carrot for kids to achieve because they want to achieve a good grade. But in fact, in GeniSal, we don't grade them at all. Yet 90% of them want to do well. So I find that fascinating. And same again for I care about my work and efforts during GeniSal. 87% of them agree and strongly agree. So moving on to now some student work. Here are Shelby's projects that she's completed in the last 2 years. And if you want to have a look at any of these, you can simply just click on the blue links and you will find PDFs of all the things that Shelby and often members of Shelby's group found out. So Shelby, which one of these projects was really enjoyable for you in the last 2 years?
One of my favourite projects was how might we educate others about coding by creating a range of helpful resources. And in this project, I learned about Scratch, animations, the Arduino, and Makey. And why I enjoyed this project so much is because I never thought coding would be something that I would enjoy, but it turns out that I really enjoyed it.
Great, thanks Shelby. So we have Luke also. Here are Luke's questions. Luke, which one of these projects in the last 2 years have you really enjoyed?
Well, probably my favourite was how might we raise money and awareness to support people with cancer, because we raised over $500 for cancer research, and it was really fun watching this. Well, we did a fundraiser day for our school, and it was just good watching all the kids enjoy and having fun for a good cause.
Great, thanks Luke. And here are some pictures of Luke in action in his projects in the last couple of years. So now we've got Sienna. Sienna's in year 6.
Now, sorry, before Sienna goes, can I just remind people that they're free to ask questions in the question app, and we'd love some questions for our students. We're lucky to have a student panel here today, so if you've got questions you'd like to ask directly to the students, just pop those in the window.
Absolutely, thanks Riss. Riss, by the way, how are we hearing the students? Are they okay?
Yes, they're very clear and very articulate.
Beautiful. Okay, so Sienna, here are Sienna's projects that she's completed in the last 2 years. Sienna, which one of these have you really found interesting?
Well, I thought that my grade 6 semester 1 project, which was how might we educate people about the negative impact that animal captivity has on marine animals. And I thought it was that one because it made such a big impact on other people since we got to go into the Google Hangout, and that taught, like, I think in that Google Hangout, it was like 1,000 people watching. So we taught all those people about our project. But my grade 6 semester 2, how might we rewire our brains through a 30-day challenge, definitely came very close.
Great. And these are just some pictures of Sienna's projects in the last couple of years. And finally, Jacob. These are Jacob's questions. Jacob, which one of these projects have you found most inspiring for you?
Probably my year 5 semester 2 project, how might I raise awareness of puppy farms and how might I prevent the purchase of these dogs, because I really got to get around the community and put posters up because I really felt that this project needed help, because I thought that puppy farms was a big issue, and I also didn't know much about it, so I got to learn heaps about it, and I got to go on the Google Hangout and spread my message worldwide as well.
Great, thanks Jacob. Like I said, if you want to see those presentations in more detail, as well as the hundreds of other presentations, just head to our blog or click on those links in the presentation provided. So I'm just going to switch over, Riss, to our camera. and so everybody can see us. Can you see us over there now? Yes, no, maybe? I'm hoping you can. I can't hear you at the moment, so I'm pretty sure I am because we're presenting to everybody. So just for everybody watching now, because you've heard these, so we have Luke, Sienna, Jacob, and Shelby. So we've got prepared a couple of questions that I'd like them to speak about. First thing is, we've already talked about something significant you've learnt during Genius Hour. What have you learnt more so, less about content and more about working with people or other areas of understanding, human cooperation with each other? What's something that's been really significant for you, Luke?
Well, probably the most significant thing for me was working with people. Well, for all my projects, I worked in a group, and the thing I learnt most is that if you don't communicate with your group, you won't make an impact, and the whole point of Genius Hour is to make an impact.
Shelby, anything else to add?
Something that I found significant was working with people, like Luke said, and it's enjoyable when you are working with people that are passionate about the same things as you, and it's also it's just really enjoyable and engaging.
Okay, great, Shelby, thank you. One of the things that I think will be really interesting for people to hear about is, how does Genius Hour compare to other areas of school? Anyone got any ideas about that?
Well, sorry, you start. You can go. All right. Well, it's mostly controlled by you and your ideas, and you just get to follow your passions and work on something that you love just for a whole semester, and it's really fun.
Yeah, and I also find it really interesting because teachers can't really tell us whether we're doing it right or wrong. We have the choice of where we want to take our project, and that's just really engaging for students because we get to choose how we want to do it. So it's just really enjoyable.
Guys, I'm just going to ask Anita, who's one of our visitors today. She is curious to know if you feel like you're doing better in your other learning areas because of Genius Hour.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Mostly because I feel like Genius Hour has sort of sparked my imagination and ideas and creativity, as well as just teaching me something else. It's really taught me other things besides just the things that we were learning about.
And I also feel that by the teachers letting us do Genius Hour, the teachers have realised that we are more engaged in our learning when we are able to choose the topics and things we want to learn about. So, for example, during maths, sometimes the teachers give us the choice whether we want to learn how to do problem solving or division, so we kind of get to choose, and it kind of just engages us a bit more.
Adding on to what Jacob said, it gives the teachers a better understanding of what sort of a learner we are.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Just moving on to the idea about being engaged, one of the things that I read a lot about Genius Hour is the teachers saying, they're really engaged. We've seen surveys that show that they're engaged. You know that you're engaged. We can see the level of engagement. But why do you think this is? And how can we get other areas of our school curriculum also to reflect that same level of engagement? Sienna, what do you think?
I'm not surprised that other teachers want to try out Genius Hour and are really interested in it, because it's sort of something that everybody loves, and it's because everybody's doing what they want to do that semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jacob, any ideas?
I think it's pretty much just that we choose what we want to do. So if we have more choice in other subjects, we'll become more engaged in what we're doing.
Yeah, I think more classes should be like that, because everybody just gets more engaged, like Jacob said, and just more interested. And I think I learn better when I'm interested in what we're learning about.
Yeah.
I think naturally, even as adults, we can definitely say the same thing as well. We've talked about sharing, and so we do that really in 3 ways. We share at the expo, where we invite everybody to come into the school community. We upload our presentations onto the blog. We present live on Hangouts and our YouTube live to a wider audience. How does this impact your mindset and how you approach your project in terms of how you do things and how you present yourself? Does it change the way in which you tackle Genius Hour projects? Luke, what do you think?
Well, I think the thing that impacts my mind is that at the expo, the whole school and the wider community comes to have a look at your projects, and it pushes you to want to do better because you want to have that project that catches someone's eye.
And I think by doing the Google Hangout and sharing your project to people that you don't know in the wider community and even in the school community, it really boosts your confidence. And coming into the next Genius Hour or even just maths or English, you really think that you're going to do better and you're confident about what you're saying.
Great. And just one final question for our panel before we jump into anybody else that wants to ask a question. If there are any teachers out there who are listening today and they're doing Genius Hour, maybe some people never heard of it before or have tried it but didn't really work, what sort of advice would you give, or if you could tell those teachers right now to make a difference in their classroom, what would you say to them?
Oh, well, I say definitely give it a shot because it's so worth it and everyone loves it. And one time in grade 4, I was so excited about Genius Hour. It was my first one that I'd started the project before it had even gotten approved, and I just love Genius Hour.
Yeah, I say give it a go as well, because I think that if students, we at this school enjoy it so much and we learn so much from it, and it's not only having an impact on us, it can also have an impact on the people that we're doing the project for example, if you do it on homelessness, and it's not only impacting us during Genius Hour, but it helps us during other subjects as well. So I definitely say give it a go.
I would also say I would think about trying this because as our teachers have seen that we have all been engaged in our learning, and that is because we are able to take our own path and explore any type of learning that we are interested in and intrigued in.
Great, thanks for sharing. Riz, how's that? Are there any questions out there that you'd like answered?
Loads of questions. I'm just going to ask for one answer. So I'm going to ask one question to each of the children. So if one person would like to take the first question, that is how much input do your teachers have in your design process and solution creation? Who'd like to answer that one?
Shall we?
Yeah.
The teachers, the only really job that they have to do is to help us kind of start off our project, is like to help us get a question that is non-Googleable. And then ever since that path, we kind of take our own way and we go explore anything that we like within our question. And yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, my next question is from Yilin Chong, and they asked, during the process of creating the projects, what are the challenges you faced, and do you have any tips on overcoming these challenges?
Okay, probably the biggest challenge I faced in my time doing Genius Hour was time management, because like I was saying before, you got to communicate with your partners. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add something? I know I'm not a student, but one of the other things as well, which we think has a big impact, is this idea that if you position yourself around other people who are interested in your idea, then you're most likely to succeed in that. One of the other things that came out from that survey is the kids who responded that they didn't enjoy Genius Hour this semester was because they were working with people who just couldn't agree on the same levels and weren't working cooperatively with them. So that's interesting as well. Sorry, I'm not a kid.
No, in addition to that, I'd like to ask the tallest kid there, you, Anthony. People are curious about, do you get all students do this? Because obviously we have a range of ability levels and interests in our classroom. So a lot of people are curious about, does every student do this, and how do you help struggling students?
Yeah, so I mean, it is the process that I've described comes from 5-6 perspective. It is modified and simplified in 3-4. Our school is an inquiry school, so a lot of these concepts come naturally, particularly around having a question and researching a project. The difference with the inquiry and the Genius Hour is that the Genius Hour continues for a much longer period of time. We believe that it is something that everybody should have an opportunity to participate in. It doesn't matter where they are academically or socially or wherever it might be. And whilst there might be some students that do struggle, what we do is with the role of the mentor teacher is to ensure that everybody in their group succeeds. And sometimes, yes, there are some groups that maybe just need a little bit more intervention and scaffolding. And it's pretty interesting to see sometimes groups can just really fly off on their own accord and tap into even experts and parents and other people in the community, get support that way. And yes, sometimes as a mentor teacher, you do need to be more hands-on with a group. But yeah, we definitely think that it is something that everybody should have the opportunity to do.
Yeah.
Thank you. And something that people are very curious about, this is for the smaller students, so not you, Anthony. Do you find how much work do you guys spend on your Genius Hour projects at home? And do you find that people go home and do a lot of their work at home and don't come to school and do it?
Well, we only get about 1 hour a week to actually do Genius Hour at school. So most of the testing and working on our slide presentation and developing our models is mostly at home, but we have to catch up with group members outside of school. So it does sometimes test our ability to kind of work with each other at school because we have a limited amount of time, but we definitely do most of the work at home. Teachers kind of just keep us up track on school, so yeah.
I think it really says something, Riss, would you agree, as an educator, when kids are naturally inclined to just go home and work on it. We didn't necessarily have to say, you must complete this, but they're obviously motivated enough to do that. So it's interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, well done, guys. I think that, interestingly, the top response for questions has been someone said, your students are awesome. So, and most people have agreed with that. So that's their number one response to this. I think we'll agree on that one.
It's a great comment, not a question, but we'll take it. Thank you.
Now, Audrey asks, did you guys use many experts to discover your answers? Or do you tap into people outside of your school?
Well, not all the time, not for all of the all the projects that we do, but some people, depending on what they're doing. I remember one group that was doing it had to talk to the council because they wanted to help people who were homeless and give them food. So they needed to talk to other people who were experts on things like that about just what they could do. But for most of my projects, I don't think I did it. How about you guys? Did you do?
Not really, apart from raising money with
raising money always.
Yeah. I think we've sort of observed that if kids are doing things that coding, for example, or artistic projects, they might have parents or people in their community that are really engaged with that and can also help them. So experts is an interesting one, but definitely there are some projects that lend themselves to other people working with associations for guide dogs and Will Murray Foundation and other societies like that.
Now, Anthony, this is an insider question, and this is for you, because I know when we first came back from America and we were talking about the Genius Hour concept, every iteration that you've done, you've changed it a bit, and so now I see that it's a lot more focused on doing something that matters. So did you want to talk a little bit about how your first version of Genius Hour and how you've changed it? Because I can see that the students seem to be really passionate about that idea of working on something that matters, that social responsibility idea.
Sure. I mean, I guess when we did it the first time, we knew that we'd struck a nerve with something pretty extraordinary back then. But we weren't satisfied with what it could be. And I, to be honest, I'm still not satisfied with what it can be. I always looking at constantly improving things for the better. And I think one of the worst things that anybody can do as an educator is just to do the same thing you've always done every year and not change it up. But there's a difference between that and also just improving it and changing it for the better. And I think that's why we've constantly been wanting to evaluate ourselves, get the kids to give us some honest feedback about the process as well, and look to ways that we can improve the process. And we're not saying this is the perfect model of anything. We do see that it's a really interesting way to engage kids. And that's fabulous, but how can we keep improving it to be even better? And I think that comes from a willingness to throw ourselves in there and see what happens, and a willingness to evaluate our effectiveness and respond on that. And I think that's why it has continued to evolve. And I have to say credit to my school community and the teachers I work with who have totally embraced this, what was once upon a time coming back from a plane from America, a crazy idea that one person had coming back to Australia. And, credit to the teachers here who have really taken that on board.
Thank you. And my question for the students about that is that you guys have been involved in Genius Hour for more than one version of it now. So you've been, I think one of you said that you've been doing it since year 4. How have your projects changed over that time? And do you think it becomes easier to be involved in Genius Hour once you've done it more than once?
Well, in year 4, when I started Genius Hour, I thought that I'd be able to conquer, create a cure for cancer or something like that. But because that was my question, how might I raise awareness of cancer? But once you start doing Genius Hour for a semester, you start to realise that you can make an impact, but the impact you want to make is about how hard you want to work, and how much you want to put into it. So it definitely depends on how much you want to work on it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I just want to bottle you up.
That was great, wasn't it? That was
Yes.
a great response. Rhys, I'm just conscious of time and that we have gone over a little bit, but I do want people to know, and I know probably I can see you've got many questions from the audience. We're very happy to answer those on the Q&A app this afternoon or tomorrow. So, just for the sake of time, there are many other sessions going on Edu On Air. It's very hard to be all in one place, but we probably do need to wrap it up.
And I'll just get you to remind people where they can go to get a copy of the slides for today, so that they can access those afterwards. And people are asking about the recording as well.
Yes, so there will be, my understanding is that after today's events, by tomorrow on the Edu On Air website, you'll be able to see recordings of absolutely everything. And there will be, there is a link to this presentation inside the Q&A, but also on the Edu On Air website, there is a link there. So don't panic, people. We're big sharers. It's already out there. You will find it. So we'll connect that way after the fact.
Thank you. And can I get all of the students just to move closer to you, because one of them's just slid off the screen there, and we'd love to be able to wave goodbye to all of them.
It's probably Shelby. So yeah, thanks
Shelby.
Thanks for listening to us today, and thank you, Rhys, for moderating this session.
Thanks, guys. It's lovely to hear your journey. I look forward to getting the update next year.
Okay, we'll say goodbye to everybody, and thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much to our students. And we're about to stop the broadcast. I'll just put up a thank you slide with my contact details. And again, a couple of links where you can go and find out some further information about Genius Hour. But thank you very much for connecting with us today, and hope that's been useful for you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.